Where we get stuck in relationships, part 2. Force, the energy of force, which can be a really sneaky thing. I have an expectation of the other person to do as I say and to do it now, or to spend more time with me and to spend time with me when I want you to spend time with me, or to do the dishes and do them when I ask you to do them. So when we are coming from this forceful position of do this now, do it or else, or understand me or else, when there's a condition inside, then ultimately, rather than attracting connection, bringing ourselves closer to each other, we push the other person away. So if, for example, the thing that I'm wanting is to be closer and I really want some attention, I really want to know that my partner is understanding me, and I say, why don't you just listen? That's coming from an energy of force. There's an urgency in me that really wants to be heard. I have such an urgent need for understanding. But when I am expressing that from a place of like, you should be listening to me and I need you to listen to me now, it's going to do the opposite. My partner, rather than listening, is probably going to move further away and get more distant. So this is where we can get stuck, when we are really pushing for something that we want. And what I want to bring here is an absolute compassion and understanding as to why it is that we push in relationships, because that urgency, that push, is coming from a very vulnerable place inside. It's coming from a really vulnerable part of us that's like saying, this thing is so important to me. Being heard and understood by you is so important to me, because there's a part of me that's freaking out, that's saying, if I don't get that understanding, like, I'll be abandoned, I'll be left alone, or I'll die, or I'll never be understood, I'll never have that understanding. And that creates this fight, freeze response in the system. And so we're not seeing the reality, we are reacting from the stressor. So what we need to learn how to do is to slow down our responses, recognize the story that we're creating that brings that urgency into play, so that we can become more creative around meeting our needs, and that an abundance, a spaciousness kind of arises in the relationship, where it feels safer and more possible for the other person to say no to me. And when that happens, then my request, are you willing to listen to me, becomes more of a request rather than a demand. And when that happens, I am inviting closeness. I am creating space for the other person's needs to exist, which is going to bring them closer to me, even if not in that moment, because they are seeing and hearing and understanding that I'm considering them. So this is the art of compassionate, authentic communication, also known as nonviolent communication by Marshall Rosenberg. The absolute art of this skill is to learn how to make a true request of our partner, to really be okay with them saying no, and to really be in the consciousness, the abundance of knowing that there are many ways I can meet my needs. And that might sound to you right now like a really scary thing, but no, I need to meet my need for understanding in my relationship. And of course you do. It's not about either I meet it in my relationship or I don't. It's how can I stand fiercely for my need within the relationship without pushing my partner and forcing them to do so, so that there's a space for them to exist equally alongside me. So I hope that this brings some clarity around one of the areas that we can get stuck in relationships. And if you'd like to learn this technique, this skill, this way of life, of communicating your needs with clarity, learning how to find that abundance within yourself so that you are not attached to meeting your needs only in your relationship, and that you can meet those needs in other ways, and essentially finding ways to bring more compassion towards yourself and towards your partner in your relationship so that you have clear and honest communication, then have a look at my website. There are many ways in which you can work with me, and I'd be very happy to explore that more deeply with you. Thank you for taking time to listen.